Oh my god, what am I doing? Hey guys, welcome to Just Thinking Out Loud. My name is Desi-Rae. I'm glad to have you here. Obviously, there are two incidents that are on my mind. So in a race for governor of Florida, one of the opponents said, the last thing we need to do is to monkey this up by trying to embrace a socialist agenda with huge tax increases and bankrupting the state. That's not going to work. That's not going to be good for Florida. DeSantis was warning Floridians to not elect his opponent, Andrew Gillum, who would be the first state's Black governor. For the OK sign, Zina was resting her hand in a particularly awkward position that looked like an OK sign to some people, but some people saw it as a symbol of white power. So after hearing about these incidents, some terms kept popping up like gaslighting and dog whistles, and I just wanted to think out loud about them. What is gaslighting? Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation that seeks to sow seeds of doubt in a targeted individual or in members of a targeted group, making them question their own memory, perception, and sanity. Using persistent denial, misdirection, contradiction, and lying, it attempts to destabilize the victim and delegitimize the victim's beliefs. That was from Wikipedia. Now, if the basis for gaslighting is that someone is denying the truth of the reality that the person who's being gaslighting is perceiving, then this does not apply in this context because the reality is that we don't know what was going on in DeSantis' head. We cannot know that. So I call that BS. What is a dog whistle? Ugh. Also from Wikipedia, dog whistle politics is political messaging employing coded language that appears to mean one thing to the general population, but has an additional, different, or more specific resonance for a targeted subgroup. The phrase is often used as a pejorative due to a perception of deceptive intent in the speaker thought to be making use of such messaging. The analogy is to a dog whistle, whose ultrasonic whistling sound is heard by dogs but inaudible to humans. So it would have been a secret code. So for the OK sign issue, it would have been a secret code being conveyed to other people who were interested in white power, according to what CNN, for example, would say. In terms of the dog whistle definition, there was one example that really riled me up. It was from CNN. They were saying that when people say inner city, they were actually talking about Blacks and Hispanics. And I was thinking to myself that that sounds very similar to when people talk about low income, but they actually mean Blacks and Hispanics, because when they're trying to help people, they don't actually mean all low income people. And also when they're talking about diversity, they don't just mean any minority, they mean underrepresented minorities, also in the context of helping people. And that usually excludes some minorities, mostly Asians. I think that if you can just redefine a word to fit your worldview, then what is the point in having language at all? What is the point in having a dictionary? That's a really good question because someone can say something and then anyone can say that it means something else. For both of these issues, people say that the historical context matters. However, what I see is that it is their mental universe that they are projecting onto other people. And that's the other thing that I want to talk about, projection, because that's what I see. I really like the Pepe analogy, where because Pepe doesn't actually mean anything, he is the mirror for what's going on inside people's heads. I heard of it first from Jonathan Pagot, who, I'm not sure if that's how his name is pronounced, who talks about symbolism in popular culture and who Jordan B. Peterson is a fan of. Unlike Pepe, however, many of these words already have a meaning. So what's the definition for projection? There's a psychological projection definition that I didn't really like because it doesn't capture exactly what I want and instead talks about shifting blame or a method of defense. But let's talk about psychological projection just for fun. Psychological projection is a theory in psychology in which humans defend themselves against their own unconscious impulses or qualities by denying their existence in themselves while attributing them to others. For example, a person who is habitually intolerant may constantly accuse other people of being intolerant. It incorporates blame shifting. So that was the wiki definition, but I like another explanation of simply sending something forward or assuming others have your beliefs on a topic. Psychological projection or projection bias can be defined as unconsciously assuming that others share the same or similar thoughts, beliefs, values, or positions on any given subject. That's from Psychology Wiki, and that's the one I like. This is what I see because watching that clip and hearing those words, would not have equated monkeys up with talking about his opponent because he was Black. However, every time these people do this, that is, make articles and make videos about how that's what the person was actually saying, they are perpetuating that equation of Black people with monkey. They are doing it. And I would not see anything having to do with white power in the OK sign, but they want to ensure that that's what this symbol means to everyone. And that is what upsets me. They create this association, whatever its historical roots, they perpetuate it. In my opinion, many people in the US are in a mental world of oppression, particularly gender and racial oppression, where they need to clearly define their enemies and friends and who is in charge and who is under someone's foot. It is an ecosystem that you must enter into to live here. I was just in Jamaica and one of my best friends had made a brief trip to the US, and one of the first things she said to me is that America is very racial. That's a term she used, and many people, specifically she meant Black people, wear their color on their sleeve. Certain conversations from people outside of the US ecosystem, like that one, remind me that I'm not insane in how I myself experienced identity politics when I first came here. I know that this doesn't just exist in the US, but I do think it originates here. From my perspective, the people on the left, self-proclaimed, are just as much upholders of the establishment when they search for and point out racism, such as in this case where it's not specifically and explicitly obvious. From just watching it to everyone around the world who, most of them know exactly what the word racist, for example, means and can identify someone's character based on certain things, which in my opinion, that clip doesn't do, that one clip. So they hold up this mental landscape by pointing these things out just as much as the actual people who they talk about who are on the right, who I don't think exist in the numbers that the people on the left claim that they do. What's clear is that people have different interpretations and are seeing more than one thing, usually two things, when they look at what happens, and that anything neutral can be co-opted. And if you don't agree to see the new, terrible, oppressive version of the world, then you will be shamed into it. One person sees power struggle, the other person sees neutral interaction. One person sees hierarchy based on oppression, another sees hierarchy based on competency. Two people having an interaction together may experience it differently within the interaction, either one being cast in the conventional perpetrator or victim role. And then, after thinking all of these things, I had a pretty sobering thought. I do not have any idea of how to resolve this issue. I know that someone can't make me see what I don't see, and I don't think I can make someone else see what I see or not see what they do see. I can't deconstruct all their mental assumptions for them, nor can they for me. It just turns into a shouting game of you're wrong and you're bad. So I guess we'll all just keep going along with this hysteria or apathy towards the same events, seeing them differently, until I really don't know when. Don't be racist, but you must live in a world where everybody's always talking about it and where narratives about it are always being pushed.